break in that side. On the revenue side, the increases are largely driven by, first and foremost, full implementation of our ambulance funding formula. And so this year, that will generate an additional $142,000 and reduce the subsidy that Winthrop taxpayers are paying by $136,000. So that's good. So Winthrop will actually be paying 37% of the cost of the ambulance service. And we're going to talk about how that relates to capital improvements here in just a second. We also have actually used artificial intelligence to do some analyses of some of our other revenue streams, including vehicle taxes, interest earnings, and our transfer station revenues. So we're projecting an increase of $240,000 in excise tax revenues. That's one of our biggest revenue streams after property taxes is vehicle excise taxes. We are proposing a $25,000 decrease in our projected interest earnings, and that's mainly in anticipation of interest rates coming down in the coming year. And we've gotten some good tools from our bankers to help us, project that. At the last meeting, you approved some updated fees at the transfer station. We think that's going to generate another $85,000. So those are the largest increases, along with, we'll obviously see higher reimbursements to our general assistants as we spend more on that. And we've had some strong revenue performance in recreation and code enforcement. Lastly, as was mentioned earlier about state revenue, so our state revenue sharing is decreasing by about $54,000. And that wasn't anticipated. It's a trend that's happening. A lot of towns saw this last year. Ours actually increased just a slight bit last year, but this year we're being hurt a little bit more by that. So that's a long-winded setup just to say that we think this is a pretty solid budget this year on the expense side, on the operating expense side. That said, the work is obviously not done because I'm sure you guys will see some things that we perhaps did not as we go through the departmental budgets. But with that, I'm happy to answer just sort of any broad questions that you have about budget.
The departmental budget?
Absolutely.
Like tonight or later on?
So with our budget schedule, it's on the agenda. So on our budget schedule, those are the departmental budgets that we'll be addressing tonight. We've got some more on the 30th and then some more in April. So just as we've done in the last 2 years, we're going to tick through these in a pretty systematic way.
So I got a quick question, just what's in my head. You said there was an increase in the fees the town pays to disposal of waste. Is that increase that we did on March 2nd, the 85,500, that's going to help offset some of that increase?
Yes, sir, it will.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Yeah.
What is the increase? Kevin was talking about there being an increase and there being an increase in the fees, and he'd know that later on that week or something.
Yeah, so I've got it right here. Give me just 1 second. Okay, so for household waste, the increase is going from I'm going to just round this so we're not talking pennies, $86 a ton to $110 per ton for municipal household waste. For demolition waste, it's going from $98 to $108. So not quite as dramatic, but nonetheless, those are both pretty big increases for 1 year.
Projected out, how does that overall increase, does that, multiplied times the tonnage that we got rid of last year, what does that look like compared to that?
So Roy, you're asking, so I was working on the PowerPoint presentation this morning, and if memory serves me correctly, I think that we're going to generate $50,000 more in revenue than we are additional expense. And don't hold me to that figure. You'll see that at the next meeting, but the additional fees are going to pardon the pun, outweigh the price increase on the tipping fees.
Thank you. Anything else for anybody right now? Thank you for that information.
You're welcome. So now I'm going to oh, yes, sir.
What is the the dispatch, the second dispatcher in the second half of the year?
Uh-huh. Well, it's not a second dispatcher, it's an additional
Additional
dispatcher.
Dispatcher in the second half.
hmm
What is the driver of it being in the second half of the year?
Reduce cost for this fiscal year.
Is there higher?
Maybe.
I was wondering about like increasing calls or?
No, well, and Chief Erlin will talk about that at your March 30th budget hearing.
I think it's mostly, and thank you, I think he's given us the overview of where they're looking at some of the drivers, and then we can kind of get the departments up when we have more specific questions.
Okay. Y'all ready to hear a little bit about the capital improvement plan?
Yes, please.
Okay. As I said, this is going to be by far more challenging, I think, than the operational plan. And part of that is because last year, we had $1.6 million just sitting in the unassigned fund balance that we could then use towards our capital needs. And so that was one of the factors that helped us to hold the mill rate flat. So this year, what you're going to see is, and I see Roy has his spread out, so you have in your book some big spreadsheets. When you look through all of those, all of the capital requests add up to $2.17 million. Now, we are not in any way expecting to fund that full $2.17 million. What we're planning on doing is, after you sort of get a sense of what you're going to do with the operational budget, is that Nick and I will return later in the process and we'll present some options outlining some different levels of capital funding for you to consider and what the financial implications of those will be. So in other words, if you do $1 million, here's what that looks like. Here's what the financial impact of that would be. If you did 1.5 million and so forth. Once the council identifies the funding level that it is most comfortable with, depending, obviously on what the financial impact of that is, then we're going to return with some recommendations for how to allocate those resources to whatever the highest priorities are. So I'm going to go out on a limb and assume paving is going to remain a priority, right? And we're thinking, we've been doing $500,000 a year. We can probably count on dedicating $500,000 towards paving. We also know we're going to be purchasing a new ladder truck soon, and so we'll want to set some money aside for that. But once you set your what your comfort level is, then we'll come back with some recommendations about how that should be allocated and appropriated. Okay.
So the first one is, actually one statement. I would like to see something as far as sidewalks.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second thing is, my question is for ambulance. Does this include the deductions from the town CIP?
Yes. So that was going to be, you segued perfectly into what I was going to touch on next, which this is probably the most notable change in our CIP this year, is we're annualizing all of the capital cost for the ambulance services, vehicles, equipment, and building. And this is something that our new ambulance advisory group helped us with in coming up with this formula. And so the 6 other communities that we serve will be contributing to those annualized capital costs proportionate to their share of the operational cost. So remember when I told you that Winthrop taxpayers are going to be subsidizing the ambulance service 37% of the operating cost? Winthrop taxpayers would be subsidizing 7% of the capital cost. And then it would be, based on the percentage, that would come back. So in the past, and I want to draw this distinction very clearly, so 37% in the past, Winthrop taxpayers were funding 100% of those capital costs. So,
Been talking.
well, I will say that I'm very appreciative of the members of the ambulance advisory group, because they saw the need for their communities to contribute to this and helped us work through the best way to do that. And we think we've hit on a winning formula. It's the same sort of formula that Reed Field uses with its transfer station, which is used by a couple of other communities as well. And so we're actually going to be meeting more about this tomorrow afternoon. We've, sent out the spreadsheets and the formulas just to make sure everyone's comfortable with that. So I think that's by far the most notable change. And so if you have any sort of just preliminary questions about capital projects, I made sure that that our directors were here. And in fact, Shannon, if you want, I'm sure Kevin could come up and talk a little bit about sidewalks briefly.
Show me the money.
So Kevin, you want to talk about your plan for sidewalks?
Sure.
And while he's getting to his materials there, Shannon, I will say, we're going to resubmit that grant application to DOT this year and see if we can get some sidewalks from, some movement on Main Street.
We have quite a few degraded sidewalks in town, and they range anywhere from some of the neighborhoods down on Summer Street and some of those other neighborhoods across 202. There's quite a few of them that need some work. This year, I didn't put a lot of money in that because, as Anthony said, we're going to put in for that grant and see where we can go with that. But there's something that need to be tended to sooner than later. And when I say that, there's always a fine line between how much can you ask for and how much you're going to get and where's it going to go, right? As much as sidewalks are a priority, there are roads that need more attention than the sidewalks right now, so that was kind of my focus. But I will say that there are places in town where the sidewalks do need to be done. I'll tell you, there are places in town where the sidewalks have been taken over by the homeowners. I can think of one place where they actually put a fence around the sidewalk. No, I'm gonna wait till spring. I didn't want to deal with the winter. But Mark Arsenault and I are both aware of it. So questions about sidewalks?
Sidewalks, instead of going full boat and going for repairing all the sidewalks in town or all of one street, I mean, I've driven around and there are certain areas that are really bad and, a short section. Is there a way to address, just as a temporary repair using our personnel, is there a way to address like a short section and make them usable?
Yes, the short answer there is yes. We can do that in places where it's not so horribly bad that we could rebuild it and bring it back to where it is. I think we should do that sooner than later. But there are also places in town which we're going to look at in the future about maybe eliminating the sidewalk and making it a bike lane, right? So that the cost is changed from a sidewalk to the bike lane. It's still usable space. It's still used that way, but there's not the ramps and the ADA compliance issues that we have to deal with all over town.
Does that work with DOT being Main Street being
Well,
owned by
that would be a whole separate issue. I'm talking about the ones that we would control.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm talking about the ones on Greenwood and things like that.
I was just going to say, can you speak to where we are with the kind of global assessment of road conditions and your efforts towards it?
Yep, there are a number of towns a number of roads in town that I'm looking at for paving this year. One of them is Bowden and another one is Union. There's water work being done there this spring, so we're coordinating with the utility district on that to get that paved. There are other roads in town that you'll see in the plan as we go forward. But go ahead.
Are you utilizing do you remember we talked about that scanning device? to look
Yeah,
at? We do that?
Kevin, talk about the RSMS.
oh, RSMS system.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that thing.
Yep, RSMS, Road Surface Management System. We have started putting stuff on paper. So we have a sheet started, a spreadsheet started. So as the spring progresses and we get out of winter, we'll move that a little more forward. But again, I have all the roads listed and I have them started.
just like to bring it back around to the town garage. I know we had talked about that at one point and something about the restroom. Did we ever look into locations or any further details? Is this a cost for a brand new town garage?
Yeah, this cost incorporates putting money aside for a new garage. And again, you know, that's something that needs to be weighed out.
So when you say putting money aside, so that wouldn't be like a total cost and we don't have any kind of assessment as far as where that would be or how much it would be?
Nope, the only assessment I got was when I first got here, I got a quote from a local contractor and he gave me a budgetary number of around 50,000. And that was to do the bathroom, the break room and the upstairs office.
This says 250,000?
Yeah, that's something we put in this year to put money aside for a new building.
Yeah, I think that that'll be part of our, when we talk about capital improvements, if we want to start setting aside money for facilities like sand and salt shed and new public works garage.
Shouldn't we talked last year about a mulcher for the excavator.
Mhm.
We end up putting that in the budget,
We did.
have it.
No, we haven't purchased it yet. And that was all on me. I didn't do it this year because when we talked about it last year, we were going to send that machine out. We never had time this winter to send that machine out to do it. So I didn't pull the trigger on that. In fact, in the past 2 weeks, I've been getting quotes on it. So I'm hoping that now with the prices coming down because of the tariffs, that it'll be a little easier to handle.
Other question I had is we also had in the budget and I know it's a little late for this year if we haven't done it, but the salt
Brine systems, yeah.
well, the
Oh,
measuring system on
Yeah,
the,
metering system.
Metering,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, the ground speed control
did we
system.
do any of that this year?
So when I got the budgetary numbers, when they came in, it was right after we got the increase in the tariffs. And it came in around $13,000 higher than what we had budgeted for because I had gotten a budgetary number. I've since talked to them again and those numbers are coming down now. So I've been talking with Allied and some of the other companies about doing it and we'll fold them through.
So the main thing is the additional paving there on those.
Where do we stand dollar wise with that paving?
So we spent the $500,000 that was appropriated for Mount Pisgah and Old Lewiston Road. And then you appropriate another $220,000 for
Run.
Turtle Run, Little Copsey
Copsey.
Avenue.
Yep.
Yeah.
Those roads will be addressed in the spring. So by the time, yes, so by the time the paving contractor could get around to doing that, we were not comfortable with them doing it at that time because of the temperatures. And so that's,
I've talked to them already. Yep. I had them in my office this past week.
So we already have a plan for that 500,000? And
We have a plan for the money the separate money that you allocated last year for Little Cobbossee, Turtle Run, Welch's Point, and Island Park, that little section. And those will be done this spring. And then we're putting together a plan right now through the RSMS system for the other roads that we're looking at this summer.
On the roads, are we planning on doing any sort of substrate rebuilding on like Little Cobbossee? Because that road is trashed.
On Little Cobbossee, no, it was only an overlay.
It was only, because the
Yep.
bottom end of that, I went down in there, turned around not long
Yeah.
ago, and there is nothing left of it. Are they gonna shim it first
Yeah.
at least, or
Yeah,
something
so
like
one of
that?
the things that I've done is, and you may remember this from last year, I did things a little differently last year because the money that they had, or what they had proposed to do for work was not adequate for what we needed done. So I changed the scope of work that they did to pave them so that they would be built better. And I'm doing the same thing now. So if you had, let's say, 1.5 inch shim, let's use that as a number. If it requires a 2-inch shim, I'll use a 2-inch shim, but I'll find it someplace to make sure that it's done right rather than just paint it black.
As far as, I know last year we had, I don't know if we had trouble, but we were falling behind as far as getting all the ditching and all that stuff done when or we were waiting on getting the ditching done to get the roads painted, paved, not painted. Where do we stand this year? Do we have a lot of ditching and everything to do in order to do the paving we need to do? Is that something we should be looking at subcontracting out to get done?
No, I think we're in pretty good shape. We had a lot of culverts we had to do last year. There was a lot of culvert work last year that we had to do. And we whipped through that pretty good. We got a lot of it done. So we should be in pretty good shape this year. We still have a small list of them that we got to finish up from last year. And there's some that we're going to add to it. But for the most part, I'm comfortable with it.
Do y'all not have any questions for Dan Brooks? He's lonely. All right. All right. If y'all are good with it. Oh, one last thing about the CIP. So when we talked about funding strategies, just so you'll know, there's a range of options for that. Raising and appropriating taxes would be last on the list, obviously, but that is an option. Using some of the undesignated fund balance, and that can be replenished with some of our FY26 surplus revenues. Of course, we're building our capital reserves accounts, and, you know, we will apply for grant money as it becomes available. So.
Thank you. Go ahead, Roy.
Can I ask a question?
You, on the library capital reserve, you can, Richard is not here. He's out of town, but I'll try to answer. I bet I can anticipate the question. The drainage this year, most of those, so you know that we're going through this process with a safety consultant to address safety issues in all of our facilities so that we can reduce our workers' comp premium. And so the library had a number of issues, and since the money was sitting there, they used those monies to address those safety issues. And I will say that the MMA risk manager came and did a tour of the library and an audit of it, and found like 2 very minor things that can be corrected like in a day. So from that standpoint, you know, we got some stuff done there. We did.
I'd like to ask, just find out what's going on with it right now,
With,
the water, the drainage.
I don't think it
We had a-
becomes much of an issue until the snow starts to melt,
Yeah.
and that
Which is
now it's just
happening.
now.
It's
Yeah,
happening
now
right
it's
now,
just
so
now
I'd like
melting.
to, you know,
But
when he get- when
Richard's
he
Richard's
comes,
out of town, so I'll see if
when
he
he comes,
wants.
I'm gonna have a discussion. We had a lot of, we had a snow this year. Thank you.
Okay, so if you guys are ready, what I'm going to do is prepare the laptop, and so some of our directors
Sure.
are presenting their
That'd be great.
departmental budget. In the break room? Yeah. Yep. You can stay. Just,
Hello, everyone. Yeah. No one wants to hear my budget? Yeah, thanks.
Uh,
I want to hear it. What about the electric buses?
That, alrighty, so here's a proposed budget for the town clerk. In the next slide, you'll see that what we budgeted for the fiscal year this year is 186, 159. And to date, what we have spent is 63% of that budget. It went through 66.67% of the fiscal year. We've spent 123, 943. So we're right on track for what we budgeted for this year. Here's what we're proposing for the upcoming budget. It's 196, 331. And it's up 5.46%. Here are the three main points on why our budget is increased. We have budgeted for wage increases up to 4% based on merit. So that may or may not be what we do need, but it is based on merit. So we budgeted for the full amount to be proactive about that. And also in this budget is an increased allocation for workshops and trainings, something I feel strongly about that contributes to better customer service when you have better trained clerks. And we're working towards certification for 2 deputy clerks, which will take probably the course of the next 2 to 3 years to fulfill. And as part of that training certification, they need enrollment in professional organizations in order to receive the benefits of that and to get discounts on the trainings. And so we've allocated for memberships in all those organizations for all 3 of us. That's what I have to offer for that. Do you have any questions?
You guys don't have any questions? Do you want to move to the elections budget or?
I was actually just going to ask real quick in my mind, revenues, or do we have dedicated revenues to the clerk budget?
Well, we do collect all the excise and the tax revenue, so,
Right, but nothing.
but that's budgeted separately.
Yeah, so when you look at the in the revenue budget under general government, there are a number of different things, and the clerks are typically the ones who collect excise taxes, licenses and permit fees, dog licenses, that sort of thing. So anything that's collected in that office falls within one of those line items under general government.
Do we do this for expenses? Isn't all that isn't one?
That's correct. Those are all under the administrative services budget. So we thought it was better just to have that consolidated into one line item versus having 6 different office supply budgets in the town office.
Thank you.
On the first 2 line items, are these, have we increased the number of hours worked, or is that just an increase in wages?
So we're not increasing the number of hours worked, and do keep in mind that those reflect the potential for a merit increase. It's not what the actual spending will be, but we're budgeting for that in case we do give everyone 4% raises.
Yep, that's mine. And that was negotiated when that's what I was willing to do the job for. I started out last year. at $3,000 more than what Sarah was paid. And I feel that I contributed a little bit more. I have 15 more years experience and I have a lifetime certification and I do a little bit more with Anthony. But I did negotiate that wage increase to $5,000 if I performed adequately.
Yeah, so that was given on her anniversary date back in January.
So that's a set increase.
Yes. That was,
It is,
that was in January. And so moving forward, all the clerks will have the opportunity to earn up to 4% based upon merit on their anniversary dates.
And that's the number that's built in just in case.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time, I guess, understanding that because we have a 6% increase line item, one up to 4%.
Okay, but their salaries increased this year as a result. So you've got that plus the additional 4%.
Good. Yep. Please do.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And our finance director just reminded me, those numbers fluctuate because everyone's anniversary date is different. So if you have someone whose anniversary date is earlier in the fiscal year, that's more cost versus someone whose anniversary date is later in the fiscal year.
For overtime, you had a negative? Yeah.
So one good thing about overtime, it's basically only surrounded really with elections. We don't really have other opportunity for overtime. I'm salaried, so I don't get paid overtime. And the two clerks have chosen to generally use comp time instead of budgeting for overtime, but I did put a little bit in there just to be safe. I mean, on occasion, when the clerk staff is very short-staffed, we'll have a clerk that will skip a lunch and work through. It probably doesn't amount to even $100 a year, but I didn't feel like we should, to be responsible, I wanted to put a little bit of money in there.
Okay, you guys want to talk about the elections budget?
Yes.
All right, so for the 2026 budget that we're into right now, we budgeted $9,800. We've only used $3,284 of that this year, but however, we do have one more election to get through, the June 9th election, which we expect to be a heavy turnout. It's a gubernatorial, primaries, and other primaries. And so we expect a strong turnout for that. So we'll likely not use all of it, but much of it. We'll schedule a few more ballot clerks to work on that day, just to cover our bases, to make sure we're all set. And the next slide is what we're proposing for the fiscal year 27 of $8,625, which is actually down from last year about 12%. The reason that's down is mostly contributed to the fact that I over budgeted for election worker staffing needs last year, and I was more able to pinpoint it and lower that significantly. It also, again, helps that the last couple of elections, we've been able to close the town office and staff the elections fully with all 3 workers, which provides better knowledge and training, but it saves us money for election workers as well. So we're down for elections for the upcoming year about 12%. And I'm here for any questions.
Do you have a contract for the ballot machine?
So the ballot, the town of Winthrop owns 3 DS200 ballot machines, and they're very old. The state used to make us pay to lease them. They haven't done that for many years. I mean, they're literally 20 years old. What we do pay for is we pay for the thumb drives, the chips to get programmed, and those are done through an outside company. The state pays for their elections to get programmed. We pay for the local elections to get programmed.
Deb, with that, is there any calibration that ever needs to be done with those machines? Being 20 years old.
Yes, that they do that. I mean, they do come and service it last year. Well, I wasn't actually working this election, but 2 to 3 years ago, they'll send some of their techs around to service the machines to make sure that they're running up to date. But really the most important thing for your election integrity is your chips.
Yeah, not
You
that
know?
I'm saying anything's
Yeah,
wrong. I
yeah.
just didn't know if there was any additional for having them
Yeah.
just to come and do a preventive maintenance or just do something for them, but it sounds like they do. So if they
For the
come
last couple of years, the state has been talking about going out to bid to get new machines, and it's highly needed. I mean, they're quite old. They do work well, but sometimes we have to call in an emergency because something isn't responding properly, but we haven't heard yet if that's going to happen.
Okay.
So, and
Thank you.
if it does, we'll probably have to lease them again because they'll be newer. But so far, nothing set aside in this budget for that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So while I'm teeing up Nick here, I will tell you where I live, they are buying new voting machines. They're like $6,000 a piece. So
Wait, he's got it. You got it right there with Nick.
Hello, I'm Nick. I'm the finance director. Here's my budget. So the FY26 budget is 159,348. Year-to-date so quick note. Today I found out the audit that came to us was supposed to be divvied up between us and the school. That has been done. So the correct number, the correct year-to-date, is actually 68%. Through 66.67% of the year. The FY27 budget is $156,012, and that's actually decrease of 2.09. The main driver is, I don't know if you guys know, but our finance administrator is retiring in June, and the new one that's coming on board is getting a smaller salary than her. There's also a potential 4% merit raise for my position. Audit did also increase by a little bit. That's just per the contract. Just FYI, the audit did perform some extra duties this year, mainly on the school side with the grants and stuff. And there was also some glitch with the do froms, which just mainly had to do with the adult ed transfers, but those were corrected. And next year we'll utilize the education line more since we have a new finance administrator. Oh, well, there it is.
questions?
I'll just thank you publicly because I know you work hard on all this stuff. So, and Deb, thank you for presenting too.
Yes,
So
that's-
I have
that's
no
a-
comments further.
It's a team effort, so thank you.
Nick, I know it's not really a question for you, but when you do have a chance to sit down with Dr. Foley and you were talking about budgeting and it just popped in my head. They looked at a grant for those new cameras, the 50K that they're looking for.
My understanding is and I think Megan has handled that up, and she has been looking at grants for funding, but I just don't think anything's come up there. But I'll talk to her and just make sure
Yeah,
that.
could you just probably kind of poke them a little bit? And I'm sure if maybe Anthony, if you're having a conversation or sit down with her, and I don't know if any help we can give her from grant writing from our side to maybe help push something along?
You know, I hadn't thought about it until you just mentioned it,
Yeah,
Jim, but
mhm.
there is it's a small grant. It's only like $3,000, but we might be able to submit a
Oh.
grant to MMA for a $3,000. And it's for safety. So,
Yeah,
and because we're a municipal school department, we could likely offset at least $3,000.
it helps. Thank you. Thank you, Nick. Doing assessing. Is it Anthony, you going to run the show on this one?
Yeah, I'm gonna do the last three presentations.
Okay. That backwards now? Yeah.
Okay, so our assessing budget, is everyone looking at that in their books? So this year's budget was about $66,000 and year-to-date expenditures, we've spent about 54% of that budget through 2/3 of the fiscal year. And I'll explain the gap there here in just a second. So our total proposed budget for the coming year is actually 2.4% less at $65,200. I know you guys like it when there's parentheses around that bottom figure. So what's driving that change? We negotiated some better pricing for our tax maps, and that's largely due to, what is causing the gap between current year budget and our actual expenditures. We zeroed out the Kennebec County Registry because we haven't had any charges for that for a long time, so we just decided we're not going to budget that anymore. And there is a slight increase, it's a 1.2% increase in our assessing contract. So that contract actually expires at the end of this calendar year. And so we've had that extended to June 30th. And at that point, we'll get on the same fiscal year calendar that we're on, and it will make budgeting for that contract a little more solid each year because we'll know exactly what the figure is as opposed to right now it's ending. And rather than negotiating, I'm really thankful that our assessor gave us the same rate as this year. It just extended it another 6 months. So, and I don't know how many of you have had an opportunity to come to the town office and deal with our assessing agent, Jay Fry, who was excellent. We loved working with Jay. He's taken a job with another firm. And so actually the firm's owner, Rob Duplessis, who lives in Monmouth, is going to be coming here every other week and alternating with another fellow who's done work for us in the past. So we'll have some different faces here in the assessing office.
Does the reevaluation have any impact on these lines?
No, not at all. So as you will recall, we've been setting aside $100,000 a year for the past 3 years for our assessing. So Rob is on vacation right now, and I reached out to him to see that last $100,000 if we might be able to divide it between years, depending upon when the payment is due, because we make 5 payments over the course of that contract. And so there's an opportunity that when we look at our capital costs, we may only need $50,000 this fiscal year, and then another 50 in FY28. But those are separate accounts, has nothing to do with the operating account. Any other questions? If not, I'm going to move to your budget, the town council budget. All right, this is, as I said, the town council budget. It's only $5,700 this year, and through 2/3 of the year, you spend about 62%, 63% of that. So mainly that's just the exorbitant wages that you earn
What a bargain.
twice a year. So this year, we're proposing a budget of $5,300. That's a 7% decrease in this year's budget. And the only real change in that is we're reducing slightly the advertising and training line items just based upon recent actuals. So I will say that I give you guys a lot of credit because none of you are neophytes at this point, and yet you still continue to take advantage of those training and educational line items, and I applaud you for that. It's important to do that from time to time. So any questions about the council budget? Nope. All right, we're going to move forward to the town manager budget now.
A lot of problems with this one.
With the budget or with the town manager, Jim?
Always the budget, Anthony.
Oh.
Always the budget. You're doing just fine,
That's sweet.
right?
All right. So as Nick said, this is the town manager budget. I'm Anthony. I'm your town manager. The current year's budget is $123,500. And so you see, similar to the town council budget, tracking along pretty closely 63% through 66% of the fiscal year. So one of the things I'll say is I'm really proud of the fact that when you look at our year to date each month, we are tracking along just as we should be. And I think that's a sign of two things. I think it's one, it's good budgeting, and two, it's good budget management, you know, and those are two different disciplines altogether, but I think our team is really excellent at that. The total proposed budget for this coming year is $123,600. That's 8/100ths of a percentage point of an increase, but there is a caveat to that. And the caveat is that the town manager's salary should be determined in June during my annual performance evaluation. So if you see fit to increase my salary, you guys will decide what that is, and then we'll plug that number into the budget. And there has been just a very slight increase in my Maine Town and City Manager Association dues, which I will say I very much appreciate the opportunity to not only be a part of that organization, but to engage in their training, which is really excellent. And on March 27th, I'll be spending the whole day up in Bangor. They're having a day-long session of training. And part of that is going to be like reading financials, which is something I've been asking them to do because I feel pretty certain I know what I'm doing, but I'd like to see if I can pick up some pointers on how to better look at our financials. So anyway, so that's the town manager budget.
I think we're good, Anthony, and I do appreciate you guys. I've said it, and I've now into my next term here, but giving us the updates of quarterly or what we spent to date. When I first started it, we didn't get that, so kind of knowing this understands, and if we're tracking wrong or we see something going astray, we know about it earlier than later. So.
Well, I'll add something else to that I think is also important, Jim, is yes, we do that for you guys on a monthly basis,
Yep.
but we also post it on our website. So any
Yeah, I saw that
citizen,
too.
any taxpayer who's interested can go on our website and see on a month-to-month basis how we're tracking along. And we also put that on our Facebook page as well. So I happen to feel it's really important to be as transparent as we possibly can be when it comes to the town's finances.
Thank you. All right, closing the discussion on that. Nobody else has any discussion on that, do they? We can kind of go and pop the lights on somebody over there. How to do that, Zach, or somebody? All right, seeing none, we're going to move on to item 047, consideration of February 2026 disbursement warrants.
Move to approve the February 2026 disbursement warrants as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All are in favor. Thank you, guys. Items 048 to consideration of Bailey Library Board of Trustees nominations to fill a vacant position on the board.
I'll move to appoint Jan Tewksbury to fill the vacant position on the Bailey Library Board of Trustees created by the resignation of Laura Lynn to serve for the remainder of the unexpired term ending December 31st, 2027.
Any discussion? Seeing none. Oh, sorry. Okay. Okay, good. Yeah. All right. All in favor? All are in favor. Moving on to item 049, consideration of recommendations from the appointments committee. So. Any discussion? Do not. Anybody? No, seeing none. Okay. Any discussion? No? All in favor? All are in favor? Thank you, guys. Now moving on to other business, public comment. We lost a lot of the audience, but anybody here that still would like to make a comment, feel free to step up to the podium. Nothing online? Seeing nobody? Okay, moving on. Town manager report.
So as I've mentioned a couple times, you're going to have a budget session 2 weeks from today, special meeting that's going to occur on the 30th. We will be looking at the big ones, the big budgets. That is police department and dispatch, fire department, ambulance, public works, and that includes transfer station and cemetery and administrative services. So those are by far the biggest budgets that we have. And at the same time, our town clerk has recommended that we consider repealing our dock ordinance. Apparently, reserving spaces in the docks down there at Maranacook Lake has posed a big problem because people are just pulling into slips willy-nilly, and then people who've reserved them get there and they get frustrated because their slip isn't open. And her proposal is that we go to just day usage of the dock, since we really can't enforce it any other way. Is that something that you would at least be willing to consider? Because if so, we would like to bring that before you, if not on the 30th, on April the 6th, before we get too close to boating season.
News from that.
It's like $3,000 a year.
But the thing is, a lot of people like it because we could put a sign up there. A lot of people like it because they can dock their boats there and they don't have to take the boats out you're going to have more moorings there. I mean.
And we could,
that's
and
the thing, I think it's, least have,
Royce?
My question is, how would you police that day use? And how do we police it now?
so if it's day use, if someone's there after dark, then, you could cite them for that.
You could cite them, but who's going to go down there and cite them?
Well, I mean, again,
Same people that aren't going down there and policing it now, I guess is my point.
well, I mean, to Linda's point, I think if we put up signs saying no docking after, dark or whatever, then that would, hopefully most people would adhere to that. We could send officers down there first thing in the morning, I suppose. And to Linda's point as well, I mean, what we thought is, now that we've got a mooring field there, people could get themselves a mooring and keep their boat down there.
So you want to go? Okay. I guess I do appreciate some people, and I know a little bit about this, so I know some people do appreciate they can have their boat if they're renting a place in the lake for the week, so they can have it for the week. I don't know as if we do, it might be able to come up with a better way to enforce that, maybe just with simply. Well, not just so much that. I'm just thinking, I've been down there and I've used it myself and stopped in real quick if I had to get off and on and off for some reason. But if we put up and it wouldn't cost much, but and it's one of those like a little chain saying, on that one leg of the dock that somebody's got. I mean, I don't know if that would, or a sign saying this has been reserved for, this has been taken. I mean, I don't think that they're painted. They used to be painted on there, and they're not very legible anymore. They're pretty worn out. But I'm willing to talk about it. I mean, I don't want to add more to somebody if it's been more of a fight or more phone calls we're getting here at the town hall, it doesn't seem like it's going to resolve much, right? But my thoughts is, could we do something different to half of it, where they kind of rope it off saying, okay, this half has been reserved, and the person, I know it's the honor system, right? So you just kind of unclip it and go around, but somebody may say, oh, geez, that's why this is set up this way. But hold on, I think Shannon was I cut her off. Did you want nothing to say?
I was just going to ask about the signs, if there were any signs.
Okay.
Microphone. I'm sorry. But anyway, you could make full season rentals available for an agreed upon, a fee that we would all agree upon. And that would certainly simplify things.
Exactly. Thank you,
Yeah,
Andy.
I'd like to see something. I'm kind of with Linda. I'd hate to see it go away because I think it's a nice perk for some people, but I'm thinking like you could do stickers with number spots, as simple as that, 2026, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then someone could take a photo and report it that way. But, because everyone's got a boat registration, so they should be able to look it up. So, I'd be interested to some alternative options, but I really don't want to see it go away entirely. So,
Okay, well, to it, let me just bring something to you on April the 6th.
Yeah, I
and
think
then we
we'll-
can discuss it then.
I think it's important to
Okay.
listen to something.
All right. Also on April 6th. So I have been told that there is a woman who's well-versed in TIF districts and economic development, Reagan La Rochelle. You folks may know her. She's served on the legislature and served on the Austin City Council. And so if you're interested, I thought maybe I would ask her to come and speak to you, and then we could sort of start moving forward and reestablishing a TIF district. Okay,
Yeah.
we'll do that.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement to that.
And also on the 6th, the Comprehensive Plan Implementation Committee would like to come and present some thoughts on housing to you folks. So I know Steve McDermott has prepared a letter for that. Also, a couple of you asked me recently just about sort of what happened with the law in the legislature regarding mobile home rental rate increases. It did not pass, but there are some communities that are, either establishing their own ordinances or setting moratoriums or whatever. I just wanted to double check with everyone to see if you have any interest in revisiting that or wait until maybe some of the residents come to us and with any sort of concern.
Can of worms, because if you're gonna not allow people to increase rents, and I get that, the rents are increasing, but you're gonna have to consider the taxes that they're paying, and the taxes are increasing and everything else. I mean, it's not, those rent controls, I think don't work. Everything else increases.
I concur.
I'm just going to say, didn't
I agree.
the state, although enact policies to help?
So there are
Purchase or
policies that
buy
could,
out or
that's
something.
exactly right. Right. Okay, we'll leave that alone. Dawn Emerson, our town planner, asked, we did have a member of the Chamber of Commerce who was serving on the Downtown Revitalization Committee, but his work schedule has made it pretty difficult for him to attend. She wondered if you guys would be amenable just to having a chamber representative to attend those meetings on behalf of the chamber as opposed to being a specific person. Do you have any issue with that?
Not really, but I'd be concerned about mixed messages if it wasn't the same person, a designated representative.
Something is better than nothing, is my opinion.
I agree. I think we want to have some type of representation there from,
I'll go with
if somebody can't make it, then, you get an alternate, right? So I think
Right.
that's important.
Very good. As you folks probably know, the Charter Commission approved its preliminary report last week. And so they could not find a date where the Charter Commission could all meet in April. So they're going to meet on May the 12th and hopefully approve their final report at that time. And then we'll bring that to you at your next meeting and you can call the election for November.
So would that give us plenty of time to post it?
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Absolutely. There was some concern last week about potentially a data center moratorium. So I had our town planner speak with the planning board last week about what their thoughts were. They did not have a sense of urgency about that, but they said if that's what the town council wants to do, then we will start working on a data center ordinance. As you know, right now, they're working on solar regulations, group home regulations, and then we've got 3 laws that the state has passed that we've got to amend our zoning ordinance in order to comply with those new laws. So they've got quite a bit on their plate, but they're not resistant to tackling data centers if that's the council's will.
Where's the urgency of data centers coming from? Where's this request originated from?
So there's a bill pending in the state legislature to create a study group to incentivize data centers to locate in Maine. And I think, Roy, one of the concerns about that is they eat lots of electricity and they need lots of water. And particularly in a lake community, that could prove to be problematic from an environmental standpoint.
Just, I just soon give the,
Something we want. Do use a lot of water. We have leaks.
I just soon do it, but
It in,
it's,
Yeah.
I think it's important to know, we'll give the planning board some direction on what we'd like.
or,
I think that's before we just giving some marching orders. I think we should have a discussion item to say what we would like it to maybe look like.
yes, my only point was a consideration of the planning board, give them a little bit of a breather.
Right.
Where you just listed off all the stuff they were doing, but yes, I would be supportive of that. Get ahead of the curve, yeah. No, I understand completely.
considering
Yeah.
it, putting it out there that this is what.
Discussed. Andy, go
Yeah,
ahead.
so my opinions of moratoriums notwithstanding, I am the town council representative to the planning board, and I have to tell you, they are working their backsides off, okay? I don't want to speak for them, but I think that if we ask them to work on another piece of ordinance or moratorium or whatever, I think we're overtaxing them, okay? I mean, we're all volunteers, and so are they. And they're really working hard. They're not just skipping over things and passing rules. They're doing
But I-
tons of research.
I understand Linda's concern too, is just get it in the pipeline.
I think if you get in the pipeline and we discuss it, stand so that
Let's put it for an item of discussion.
Okay.
Next council.
Okay, all right. I mentioned about the 3 laws that the planning board is now working into our zoning ordinance. We did get a $15,000 grant last week to help offset the cost of that. And so since 2024, there's a question raised at the Charter Commission meeting as to whether or not the town manager is doing an adequate job of getting some grants in the community. Since 2024, we've gotten $1.3 million in grants, and I suspect we're going to get another $75,000 grant very
Don't
shortly.
see said individuals in the audience.
Oh, y'all can spread the word.
Yeah.
Our second meeting in April occurs on, and in fact, we're going to have a more budget workshop at that second meeting, occurs on Patriots Day, which is a state holiday on April the 20th. So I was going to see if you guys wanted to either move that by a day to the 21st or make it maybe the week before, the week after.
They
We'll
don't,
go around. Linda? Okay, Andy?
no,
No for what?
don't move it.
Okay.
I can do either the day after or the week after.
Patriots Day, holiday. Saying keep it.
Wait, so we're leaving it?
Good. I don't.
If it gets moved, it's unlikely I can make it, so.
All right. I will try to wrangle department directors in here to come in and talk about their budgets.
What is it we're going over on that?
It's the
Patriots Day, another day that they get off?
Patriots Day is a state holiday, Roy.
Oh. Is that like number like 42? 43 on the list?
Let me ask you something, Native Maynard. Do you know what Patriots Day commemorates?
Concord.
Then maybe you
Lexington.
should pipe down over there.
I'm simply
do.
speaking.
I know.
I'm
Lexington and Concord.
simply,
The Battle of Lexington.
okay. I'm simply
I went to Winthrop High School.
I'm simply speaking to the number of holidays that municipality employees get
There are
off.
13 of them.
Does this mean they pay more? We have to pay them to come in though, right?
Well, no, these
No,
are directors.
most of salary.
coming in.
Oh, that's right.
But if it's in the evening, if it's not impacting, I would actually, if it's not impacting, Anthony, if it's not
Nobody's running
impacting
the
them too
Boston
bad, just see what we can do.
3-day work week by any chance?
Okay, let's move.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, let's move on.
Zach, I'll take that.
lastly, for those of you, I'm sure you've all by now seen the new website. And
Yes.
if any of you would like to have us sign you up for subscriptions for email and text alerts, we'd be happy to.
Oh, you have to do it all over again?
Did it cancel all the old ones?
No,
Oh,
Okay.
No, I was gonna say, I think
It's
it's,
just a different system.
Although I noticed a lot of our old stuff that I was
it looks great.
able to search.
Been on it a bunch of times, so I'm happy with it.
you need
We do
something,
with
let
all-
us know.
Okay.
That's the town manager's report.
Thank you, sir.
I didn't hear.
If you want to come up to the microphone, you can, it's gonna be a real quick, it's really quick because we're getting ready to adjourn. So
Does anybody have any answer on the solar farm on 202?
No.
Has anybody discussed that?
now,
I went to the planning board meeting and it got brought up to remember.
So I
the-
think I've communicated,
planning-
at least with Roy, I don't know if I've but our code enforcement officer and Greg Stewart have communicated about that. Mark has gone out there and worked with the third-party inspector and is satisfied that they're doing what they need to. Greg is satisfied. The only question now is just to ensure that they're not including the state's right-of-way as part of their buffer
okay.
from the
There,
highway.
that's what plan.
Yes.
And they put down water runoff mitigation
Yeah, they're-
strategies.
So
The,
They cut it down.
They're planting their buffer. They're planting trees. They're not.
it's not just the
Correct.
buffer, they cut down more trees than they're supposed to. Well, and my next question is, there absolutely no two ways about it. Never made their 1 year to start, 2 years to be essentially complete, and I don't know why that's not being enforced.
We're not gonna,
Yeah.
we're not gonna go back and forth on this one right now. We're ready. Okay, we can absolutely do that and we can find out what's going on. I think that's fair, but thank you everyone. And it's a good point. I mean, I think everybody was wondering where we're at with it, but I think we're good with it. All right, so
Just want to address two public comments that we had at the very beginning. One that brought up adding an agenda item in the future. And I was wondering if it really needed to be an agenda item or even a policy, or if it's something that we could just, as far as gender neutral language, if that's something that we can just implement moving forward.
We could.
For the gender neutral language, instead of just creating a policy. I mean, there's already guidelines in here, there's state laws. Moving forward, as we update and revise our policies, is that something that we can just implement?
I think we can put it on the, as a discussion on an agenda item. Me and Anthony can talk about it and see how we're going to move forward with that.
Okay. I will say that,
Charter too? Okay.
Whitney and Kat, at the Charter Commission meeting, made the same request. And the Charter Commission approved that without any hesitancy. And it took me all of like, I don't know, 30 seconds to get the language gender neutral. And I don't think anyone would ever know the difference
Okay.
in reading that document.
He
at
said,
this
and I
point.
thought we saw them somewhere before.
Any other town council comment?
You say the TIF thing's the 6th, or is that undetermined?
I'm going to invite her and hopefully she can make it on the 6th.
All right, cool. I just want to make sure I get do my homework. I'm good.
Anything else? All in favor? All are in favor? Thank you, everybody. 8:19.